What are you doing? Get out of here. Yeah, that's what I think of that. No, not really. I mean, our uh, our i3, our 13100F has served us pretty well. Um, think for a budget build that's geared towards 1080p, I still think this is going to be the way to go. Um, but as we stretch our legs with bigger and bigger GPUs, I feel like I'm starting to see some limitations from the CPU. Um, I didn't test the 1660 Super in 1440p because that's just not. I mean, it can probably do it to some extent, but I just don't really think that's what it's geared for. And I don't want to try and push anybody in that direction. So a 1660 Super or maybe like an RX 580 even, paired with this guy, I think that is or a 12100F, because the performance is virtually the same. Whichever one is cheaper. When I got this, it was like $5 more, so I was like, okay, I'll get the 13th gen. But the benefit of having the 13th gen on there, I've already done the BIOS flashback on the B660, and so we are all tuned up to run what's in this box. So without further ado, the other thing that's been going on is streaming performance with the i3. I think all the GPUs, even the 1660 Super that I've tested, should have the hardware to be able to stream and game no problem. Use different bits of hardware. But I was having a lot of drop frames and a lot of kind of laggy behavior. And I'm attributing that to the processor. Now, maybe that's not the case, but we're about to find out. So there should be. We got the i5 13600K. We got the 13600K, so now we're going up to. So the 13100F has no integrated GPU, so we're gaining an integrated GPU, which I think is going to come in clutch when I go to install the ARC GPU, because I'm going to be able to load from the motherboard, and then I can download ARC control and download the drivers, and then swap over my input to the GPU. The first time that I went through it, it actually, usually Windows has like an integrated, like a low-res VGA driver that'll run anything. It wasn't, my monitor wasn't picking it up, but luckily I had just been streaming with dual PCs, and I still had the capture card hooked up. And so when I changed the input to the capture card, I could see the monitor from the other PC, and I was able to download the drivers. So I definitely wanted an integrated GPU this time. So the other thing is the i3 is 4 cores, 8 threads, and it has great single and multi-core performance for what it is. This gets us up to, so the i3 has no efficiency core, so this bumps us up to 6 performance cores. Let me think here, it's 20 threads, so 12, 8, so 6 performance cores and 4 E-cores on this one. So I think we're going to see a much improved multitasking ability, and our streaming and recording should improve. So that's what we got here. What did I get from Amazon? Oh, that's right. I know what this is. So while we're in the case, I decided we're going to do some other things as well. And really what I'm doing here, this is an accelerated timetable than what I think most people are going to do, but what we're doing here is showing, okay, so we started with this budget PC, which if you went with the 1660 Super and got it for around the same price I did, or right now if you go and get an RX 580, one of those new ones that are on AliExpress or on Amazon for anywhere from $60 to $120, those would work. You're looking at a price tag of $600 to $650 or so for a machine that will crush 1080p and has this or some other upgrade path laid out in the future. You know, the only real limiting factor, we have two. We have the motherboard and we have the PSU. So the motherboard is not an overclocking motherboard. You know, it's a B series, not a Z series, so it has a little bit less features. Doesn't have the same I/O that something like a Z690 has. It doesn't have as many M.2 slots. So we're limited by that, and we're limited by the power supply because we've got a 750 watt power supply. Probably if you want to be a little bit more future proof, which, you know, nobody likes that word. I don't like it either, but basically to make it last longer, you could go with an 850 watt power supply, and maybe that would last you a little bit longer into your next build. But man, the way that these GPUs are going, who knows what, you know, the 5000 series NVIDIA cards the bare minimum might be 1000 watts, who knows. So those are kind of our two limiting factors. But within that framework, you've got a lot of stuff you could do, you know. So let's say you started with the 12100F. I mean, you've got 810 CPUs above that you could upgrade to on this platform. You could do a 12400, you could do a 12600. I think with the cooler that we have on there, that we could probably do a 12700. I don't know if I would want to do that with a 13700. I definitely wouldn't do a 129 or a 13900K on a B660 with a 750 watt power supply. But I think we kind of top out where I went with the 13600K. We're not going to be able to overclock it, but we've got enough power with the 750 watt PSU to support it. TDP is 125 to 181 watts. Again, I will correct myself if that's wrong, but somewhere around there. So less than 200 watts. And even with a 4070 Ti, I think is around 300, is it 325 watts, something like that. So we're in between 500 and 550 watts. So you've got 200 watts left to power your RAM and your NVMe drives and your fans and what have you. So I think you've got enough wiggle room there. So kind of I think that's the peak build point for this. I think where you've got a pretty probably bordering on high end, definitely like a high middle end PC. If you keep the B660M, but you go up to the 13600K, a 4070 Ti, you could upgrade the RAM to 32 gigabytes. I think you've maxed out what you should do with both your motherboard and the PSU, but that's going to be a pretty hefty, this CPU and a 4070 Ti. I mean, we're going to see what it does with an ARC. I think we're going to be blown away with what this does with an ARC, but no doubt about it, a 4070 Ti is going to be better than an A770. So this with a 4070 Ti, or even if you're into AMD, 6900 XT or XTX, that's the one good thing about AMD. You know, you go with the XTX, and that should still work with this power supply because it is about the same power draw. I'll update that on the screen as the 4070 Ti, if I'm not mistaken. So you've got a pretty hardy machine there. The only thing that you're going to be limited by is maybe you're not going to be able to have as much NVMe M.2 storage. But you're going to have a pretty capable 1440p machine with this in a 4070 Ti or the comparable AMD card. So in the vein of upgrading things, you know, we got in cheapish. these are some more things that you can do. So we're upgrading the CPU, and while I'm in there, I got this. I was looking at Cable Mod, but there wasn't anything that I could get soon enough to make this video today. So Amazon actually delivered these next day for me. Was that it? Yeah, it was Amazon. It was Prime. A Corsair PSU cable kit, and I kind of resent Corsair for making me do this. I don't like the daisy chain PCIe cables that come with the power supply. They're just clunky and unwieldy, and I know that they can handle the output. You'll see a lot of comments on I get a lot of hate when I posted my 3080 picture with one of them jumpered, and I know ASUS, recommends not to do that, but I think it's okay. But either way, it's my stuff, and I got jumped on Facebook and whatnot, which I generally like to have an individual cable. Just I'm temporarily running the 3080 in that PC, and I just don't have another cable for it because Corsair didn't give me one. That's what they offered me. So, but while we're in there, you know what? I want to get the daisy chained cables and get some nicer looking cables. I hope this works in the color scheme. I got black and white. I kind of like it by itself. I don't know. I don't have any other color scheme with the build, right? So I don't think it's going to clash with anything, and I think black and white will go with just about any RGB color scheme that I have going on. And I've pretty much been sticking with white to like a blue on the fans because the arc glows blue and I can't change that. So the blue arc with some white RGB from the fans, it actually looks pretty good. So that's kind of why I'm thinking that these white and black cables are going to work. So again, these are not Cable Mod, but I feel like they're pretty good quality. They're not like not like Cable Mod, like the Mod Flex. I think that's what it's called. This is more like the paracord kind of finish to it. They take the time to put their logo on the inside of the box. I don't know, whatever. So let's just see here. So PCIe, should have two PCIe 6+2s. That's this guy. 24 pin and one EPS. So this should be the EPS. Yeah, that's CPU. Why does it? Oh, that's right. I was getting boggled over here because I thought there was two cords in here, but there's not. The end of your 24 pin that goes in the PSU has these two separate sections. Looks like we've got some. That's interesting. I don't know why. I've never noticed these jumper harnesses before, connections. We've got two going in and two going out, so I'm not really sure why that was necessary. It's not like you got three going in and two coming out or something like that. Oh, there's some kind of a capacitor or a resistor inside the shrink wrap. Interesting. If anybody knows what that's for, why they would build these like this, let me know in the comments, please. My cable mods don't do this, and none of the factory, well, I guess the factory ones might do that, but they're covered in that heavy duty wrap, so maybe they are like that. So yeah, let me know in the comments if you know why these are jumpered together like that, and if that's some kind of a capacitor or what inside of there. And then these PCIe cables, again, I'm gonna have to cable manage them, but that's the one thing I like. Well, there's many things I like about Cable Mod, but I love the metal. Again, I think it's the Pro Series, but the metal, these guys, They're pretty nice, and they come pre-installed with like 4 or 5 of them on their cables, and so you can pretty much manage your whole setup with what's included there. So yeah, so power supply end, GPU end. And the nice thing about this versus Cable Mod, well, Cable Mod does have a 6-pin PCIe. It looks like you have to buy a la carte, but so the ARC is 1 8 and 1 6-pin. So I can use the 6, and if I might have to not use the factory cable comb here, because I want to strip away the extra 2 wires and just have them tucked underneath or behind. But in order to do that, I've got to take them out of this cable comb. I don't know if I can reuse it or not once I take it off. Anyway, I'll figure it out. So that's what we got there. And then the other thing is part of this that I want to do to improve the performance of this PC. And this is not something that you have to worry about. You know, maybe you're following along with this because you do want to stream and make content, and if so, great. But if you don't want to stream and make content, some of this stuff doesn't apply to you. You may not need a 12600K, and what I'm about to say probably doesn't matter. To eliminate the performance loss from the system that streaming brings about, I'm going to capture footage going forward with my Elgato capture card. Got a HD60, what is this, HD60X, whatever the newest one is. Yeah, HD60X. This will capture 1080p 60 frames per second. Well, it'll pass through 1440p. I forget what frame rate, but it'll pass that through, and it'll capture 1080p 60 FPS, which is what I am limited to my uploads on YouTube at the size of my channel. And the last time that I tried to use this, it worked great when I was streaming for my PlayStation 5, and it worked great the first couple of times I tried it doing dual PCs. And then all of a sudden I started getting, it would gray out, and I would get the Elgato no signal screen. And I did a little bit of reading online, and it sounds like for one thing, the included USB-C to USB-A cable, I guess, is kind of janky, and if you change that out, can solve it. So I got a new one of those cables, and I bought a couple of HDMI 2.1s just so I know that I've got brand new cables and they're max bandwidth. And so my only limiting factor should be what the Elgato can capture, and I shouldn't have any cable issues. So hopefully that'll work, because I want to showcase what this PC can do, and I kind of put some handcuffs on it if I'm using it to record and stream at the same time. Although, when it's successful, if that's something that you want to do, if that's the path you want to go down, then I guess I'm proving that you can do that. Which I think this setup is going to be great. I think I may, after a couple of times with this, I may just try with Streamlabs and do everything like I do on my 4080 rig, just to test it out. But for the first couple of tries, we're gonna use the capture card so we don't strain it. Anything extra, just gaming. And so, yeah. I don't know why I like new cables so much, but I really like opening new cables and installing new cables. So this is just an Amazon Basics. This was really highly reviewed. This is my USB 3.2, 3.1 or 3.2 to USB-C. So what happens is this goes into there. This will go into the streaming PC, and this will have the HDMI out from the ARC GPU. So gaming rig is going to have output going here, and then this is going to be the input to the streaming rig over here. And you can see this is has the 10 on there, so you know this is the high bandwidth one. I think that's 3.1 though, right? Because 3.2 would be 20, right? So that's what we got that for. And then this was kind of an impulse buy. It was mostly for kicks. But also, I have some HDMI cables kicking around, but I don't know if they're 2.0, if they're 2.1. I don't know what version they are. So this was on sale for like $10, this 2-pack. It was only this color, it was only the red. So I imagine it was on sale because they had leftover red probably, and they're just trying to get rid of it. But I thought, well, what better way for me to know for sure that these two are HDMI 2.1 than to get red ones. So if you ever hear me on my channel say, I don't know which HDMI is what, remind me to use the red ones. Oh, but also, that's cool, they say 8K on them, so no matter what color they would be, if it says 8K, that's 2.1. And these are really nice braided cables. Yeah, 2 of these 6-footers for $10.99 right now. Crazy. You know, and there's different brands on Amazon, and they come and go. Like, I think these are Snow Kids or something like that. What was that? Yeah, Snow Kids. They've been on there for a while because this is one of my DisplayPort cables. Is this brand, the Snow Kid? But there's been other brands, and they all look the same. They look like they're made in the same factory. Like if you compare the pictures, and they all run about the same price, or they rotate what's on sale, kind of. So any of these kind of, they sound like an off-brand. If they look like this, these are actually really good quality. And you can't go into Best Buy or Walmart or Target or anywhere and buy a 2.1 HDMI cable like this for less than $50, I think. So, yeah. Same thing with these guys. And if you don't need, you know, the high-speed one, the ones just to charge your phone, the USB to USB-C, they're even cheaper than this guy. I buy all my cables on Amazon. So CPU and all the cables. Yeah, so I'm gonna get to editing and get this video up, and probably tonight I'll start working on and maybe finish tomorrow. I'm gonna start installing the CPU. I'm gonna do an install vid and show you how to pull everything apart, take the cooler off, get the CPU out, get the thermal paste off, reapply thermal paste, new CPU. We'll route the cables. That'll be the next video. So we've got the unboxing and the talking about video. Next one is going to be the install, and then probably I'm hoping next week to get some benchmarking videos going with the new setup, with the new CPU. So thanks for tuning in. Give me a like if you enjoy the content, if you want to follow along on the ride, and thanks for tuning in. Peace.